As some of you know, the other week we commissioned and we sent out 17 people from our congregation to go to the country of Belize for a missions trip. Anybody know where Belize is? A couple of you. We all kind of know it's sort of down there somewhere, right? Well, those that went on the trip now know exactly where Belize is, and maybe some of you know a little better how to find Belize on the map. But they had what sounds like a wonderful time down there. My assessment was it was a classic missions trip. There was some tensions, there were some issues to overcome, there were some problems, yet there was transformation. And at a time that people came back and go, this was wonderful. We ought to do this every year. Austin actually said, you know what? If I did this every other week, I'd be very happy. Overachiever, he wants to go every other week. Some of you want to go every year. But we thought it'd be wonderful to hear from some of them on the missions team. So I'm going to ask Austin, he led the team. I'm going to ask him to take this section, and he's already arranged to have the people talk, whoever's going to do that. And so we're going to give them a chance to share with us a little bit of their stories and their experiences. So,
even if you're not saying something specific, we'd love to have you come on up and stand just so the church can get a sense of who it all is here, where you might be a little tanner than the rest of you, especially Carrie and Daniel and Beth, who a little extra sun. Shout out to Eric in the back who is doing slides. He said he had no problem with staying back there. So he is with us via the slideshow. For the sake of time, we have a ton to share. We got the slideshow that'll be going in the back, but we had a number of neat things going on. This mission trip was a lot of different aspects, a lot of different juggling. Our morning meeting was, all right, who's going where, who's doing this, who's doing that. A lot of rich stuff, a lot of neat experiences. So I'm just gonna let some others speak and hopefully just share a little bit. Hopefully it's a blessing to you. So we're going to start with, I believe Jim's going to share a little bit about Orange Walk Bible Chapel and the building project.
Didn't know I was going to be first, but that's quite okay.
Carrie, I don't know if you guys know, has a degree in sign language interpretation, and there's probably called something else too. We worked with Jesus Deaf Church, a deaf population as well. Did a number of things, home visits, went to a worship service, which did not have music, but the way they worship was completely with sign. But just to give you a sense of what that was like, Carrie is going to be interpreting everything we say in sign language, just to kind of give you a sense of what we experienced and what that was like down there. So if you sign, then feel free to look at Carrie. If you know someone that's deaf, tell them to tune in and they'll be able to understand exactly what we're sharing.
All right, they asked me to just give you a quick overview of what we did. You've seen some of the pictures up there, what that building looked like when we started and what it looked like when we finished. And we as a team give God all the glory. I spent time in Belize, and I know things don't always go as scheduled. And we were blessed with the way God worked. So Esther and I and Bob and Dawn went a couple days early just to make sure that we had materials and things ready. So when everybody comes, that we had what we needed to do the job. And one of the first problems we run into is, well, windows, you don't just go get windows. They get made, pre-ordered and made. So somebody measured them. We got the windows made, and they arrived on Saturday night, and we were going to start Monday morning. So they arrived just in time. And there you can see the building. That's what it looked like before we started, and that's what it looked like when we finished right there. Some of the siding was bad, so Bob and I went down to the lumber place, and we wanted some siding. And they said, oh, we're sorry, we're out. Well, okay. He says, well, we'll call Belize City. We'll see if they have any in Belize City. If they do, they'll send it up for us. It'll be a couple of days. And they didn't have any in Belize City. And this is on Friday. Everybody's coming Monday, and we want to get started on this project. And the guy says, well, I'll tell you what. First, he asked me, what are you working on? And I said, well, Orange Walk Bible Chapel. Oh, he kind of lit up. And he says, I'll tell you what, I'll make it for you. Now, you talk about God working. I mean, we just had the right guy at the lumber store, and they had a machine there that they stick a board in, and it comes out a piece of siding. And I'll make it for you. I'll have it done by Monday noontime. I said, good, that'll work out fine. So we get that was the first place that, God's working. I mean, here we got siding. All right, then the next job we took out the windows and started cleaning stuff up. We needed a pressure washer. And I talked to my niece's husband, where would I go to get a pressure washer? We had to wash, it had loose paint on it, and it would have been hours of scraping and cleaning and to get ready for paint. He says, I have a power washer. You can use mine. Like, what's the chance of that happening in Belize? He brought it over for us. We had water. I said, well, we have electric. He says, no, you don't need electric. Mine has a motor on it. So here we get this high pressure washer, blasted off all the paint. In one afternoon, we washed the inside and the outside and just completed the job in no time at all. And he says, by the way, did you spray that for termites? Like, no, I come from the north. We don't worry about termites. He says, well, you better spray that. I said, well, where do I get a sprayer? He said, oh, I have one. So he loaned us his sprayer. I mean, like, where does that come from? And, you just start to see God's really in this. So he gives us a sprayer. We sprayed everything down, soaked all the wood with this crazy poison. I have no idea what it is. It stank. I think it makes you glow at nighttime, but that's okay. You probably can't use it here, but that's all right. We sprayed it down, and I said, what about a airless painter? I know that's a lot to ask for, but does anybody have an airless painter? And the deacon of the church was working with us. And he says, oh, I know somebody that has one. I think I can get it. And it's like, okay. But it didn't come, and it didn't come. And we're next to the last day, we're Wednesday. And I said, we're ready for the painter now. Okay, I'll go get it. So he went, and he comes back. He has a painter. And right across the road, we walk across the road, and there's a paint store. And I take a chip of paint off the church. And I said, can you kind of match this close? And he looks at me, and he looks out the door. He says, is that to the church over there? I said, yeah. He said, just a minute. He reaches under the counter, brings out his whole catalog of past business and whatever. He pages through it, and he says, oh, there it is. That's the paint you need. And he had the whole, formula to mix the paint, an exact match. I mean, what's the chance that happens? So we walk across, and we didn't have to plan too far ahead. We got like 5 gallon. We'll see how far that goes. Well, that got us about halfway. So we walked over, got another 5 gallon. And that got us just about done. And then we changed the color on the inside. We made it a darker color. And so we'll get a gallon, see how far that goes. Oh, we need another gallon. You just walk across the road and get what you need. I mean, talk about handy. How handy is that? And then the last day, I got to tell you a story about Dennis. We got doors. Our doors, the poor doors that were there were all termite eaten. They were bad. So we decided we're going to replace the doors. Well, you don't just go get a door, but at the lumber store, they had some 32-inch doors. We needed 30-inch doors. There are no 30-inch doors available anywhere. So, okay, we'll take a 32-inch door and cut it down. We'll make it fit. Well, we hold it up to the opening, to the door jamb, and guess what? The door jambs aren't even close to square. There's nothing square, there's nothing straight, but that's the way it is. So we hold the door up to the opening, take a pencil and go around the door, lay the door down and saw to the pencil line. Guess what? The door fits in the hole. It's not square, it's not straight. The one door is twisted just excessive. Well, for here, it would be excessive. For there, it's acceptable. So we fit the door in, and we fit the door stop up to the door. Instead of fitting the door to the stop, we fit the stop to the door, and it works beautifully. You shut the door, it fits nice, it looks nice. It's just awesome, but it's not square. It's nowhere close to square. But God worked the whole way through that project. The windows, we held them up, and they didn't fit. So Eric and Bob, they made shims for the tops of the windows. All the bottoms of the windows are the same height, but the tops have shims, and they're covered with the siding. They're painted. They look pretty. They work good. They do everything they're supposed to do. But it's just not the way we do things here. And we just seen God working step by step by step. It gets to Thursday afternoon, and we're done. We're done in good time. I was already thinking, you know what? Friday they're going to Lamanai. I've been to Lamanai before. If I need to stay back and just finish off some details so the job's done, that would be okay. But Thursday afternoon, the painting was done, the windows were done. I finished putting the new door locks in. Everything was completed in good time. And that just happens because God wanted it to happen. I mean, we couldn't have fit it together. We take no credit for the way things went. It was God at work. And then on Friday, we took a day to go to see the Indian ruins. It's a 20-mile trip up the river by boat. You come to the Indian ruins, and I had the blessing of my life. And I want to share with you. You all know a year ago, I was involved in an accident. Things didn't go well that day for me. God was so involved in my healing, my recuperation, and I want to take this time to thank each one of you that prayed for me and Esther. We were in a difficult position, very difficult position. And thank you for those of you who drove Esther back and forth to the hospital to see me. It was very valuable to me being there. Even at nighttime, I can share this with you. It was awful. I couldn't even look at the clock anymore. I would lay there for what felt like an hour, and I'd look at the clock, and 10 minutes passed. So for a couple of days, I just didn't look at the clock. I couldn't look at the clock. All I knew is it was either daylight or it was dark. That's all I knew. And when it was daylight, Esther was there with me because of the goodness of you all driving her there and driving her back. And for those of you that brought food to the house, thank you so much. It was greatly appreciated. And for those of you that visited, thank you so much. It was greatly appreciated. And those of you that gave us calls, thank you so much. And for all the prayers, I had no idea there were so many people praying for Esther and I during that time. And now I just ask that God blesses each of you in the way that he blessed us. And on that Friday that we went to Lamanai, I climbed to the top of the Indian ruin. Excuse me. It was a year and 13 days that I was laying on the road in front of our house, and I nearly died. If I wouldn't have had professional help quickly, I would have. And God blessed me. In a year and 13 days, I climbed to the top of those Maya ruins. And if you had told me that a year ago, there's no way. There's no way that could have happened. So that is my view of our trip. God blessed me in a special way on the top of those Maya ruins. And Austin was there to experience that. If he wants to comment to that, that's up to him. But thanks so much for all your prayers for the team, for everybody that went and everything they did. God, I pray that God blesses them, because their work blessed many other, or is blessing many other people in Belize. That little building that you've seen was a kindergarten, preschool kindergarten thing, and we repurposed it into a new youth center. So now the youth are going to use that building, and we just dedicated to them, and to God be the glory. Thank you. Sorry for taking so long.
That's a tough act to follow. I'm going to talk about our time with Bible school, but I just want to kick off a little bit of another experience I had. If you want to, how's the Bible put it? Enter the kingdom of heaven or see the kingdom of heaven, you must become like a child. I had an amazing experience in Belize on how they celebrate their children. I was on a prayer walk through town on Wednesday morning, and there was a parade. And we were asking, well, what is this parade all about? Oh, this is first day of preschool. And so all these lovely children were marching down the street, and all of the elementary children, grandmas and grandpas, moms and dads, were along the side of the road cheering them on. And I just thought that was so refreshing to see a community coming together around all their wonderful children to lift them up. So we did something special for the children there in Orange Walk also. We hosted a Bible school in the evenings, and I'm going to call it Bible school, not vacation Bible school, because the children were still in school. So this was not a break. This was something they did in addition to their day at school. So our work days would end about 4 o'clock. We would rush back to our lodging, do a quick refresh, and then those of us that were in charge of Bible school would rush back to the church by 5 o'clock, get the church open. By 5:30, children were streaming in, and we opened up our evening singing songs for about 15 minutes, and then we would split the children into groups, into 3 different groups. We averaged about 50 children per night. And we split them into 3 groups so that they could go to Bible story time, they could go to craft time, and they could go to games. And then we just rotated them. Every 20 minutes, they changed place. And then we wrapped up at the evening, at the last 15 minutes, having another song, and then the church provided a snack for them. Then we had to have them ready to head home by 7 p.m. So we had a very full evening. We featured stories that Jesus told. And the first night was about the lost sheep and the lost coin. The second night, we touched on the sower and the seeds. The third night was the prodigal son. Oh, no, wait, I got that. The Good Samaritan. And the fourth night was the prodigal son. The first night, I had a sheep puppet along and was telling the story of, I was meant to bring him along this morning, but he's still sleeping at home. The second night, Beth led, and they did a skit. Glenda was our seed. Carrie was our farmer. And Abby played the birds and the sun and the weeds. And let's see, the third night, Myrna did an amazing sock puppet show where she switched puppets all over the place, telling the story. And the fourth night with the prodigal son, Brenda set up this amazing maze outside for during game time. The children would start in the party palace, which was the playground, and then they had to travel through the pig pen on their way home. And once they got home, I believe it was Andy Diener, the father, greeted each of them joyfully. So I think they really enjoyed that. I know they enjoyed the crafts and the coloring pages. They apparently don't have that sort of thing in school, and I don't think most of them have access to that sort of thing at home. So that was a lot of fun for them. But their faces, they enjoyed every aspect of Bible school. Every night they came, joyfully came, looking forward to the evening. And the fourth night, because we only did it Monday through Thursday, there were definitely sad faces knowing that this was the last night. But it was a joy to be there. We went to bless the children, but I think we received blessings 100-fold and hugs in abundance.
Sure. All right, so I'm going to talk about another project that we worked on. In addition to the Orange Walk Bible Chapel, we also worked with the Jesus Deaf Church. And we worked with Nathaniel, who is there on the right, and he's really building a church from the ground up there in Belize for the deaf community there around Orange Walk. And if you recall, the pastor mentioned that we had some problems. I'm here to talk about those problems. There's a photo back there showing the grasslands. We lovingly referred to this property as the prairie. There's about probably around an acre of the thickest, tallest grass I've ever seen. And we were given a handful of machetes and asked to clear the property. Now, I'm used to using power tools, backhoes, tractors, etc., having the right tools for the job. And we just didn't have those things. And it was truly a unique experience. And we all had chances to show up at this property and give it a whack and do our best to clear it with what we had. And it felt like we were making very slow headway, but I think we really learned a lot in the process. And we learned about showing up and being faithful. And we learned that just by doing that, things will happen. Because not only were we here to clear this grass, but we also had some dump truck loads of dirt that were dropped off, and we had shovels to spread them. But by the end of the week, the dirt was spread, and by the end of the week, the grass was cut. And this is because we showed up and we were faithful, and God answered by giving us a backhoe. There just happened to be some workers working down the road, government workers with a backhoe. They saw that we had this pile of dirt that we were chipping away at, one shovel load at a time, and they were nice enough to stop for us. And within 2 minutes, this pile that we had been working on for 2 days was spread. And then again, you can see the photo here of the bush hog. The grasslands that we were hacking away at for 4 days, they were cleared within an hour once the bush hog showed up. So God works in different ways, and one of the ways that he works is through the power of connections. And because of the power of connections, I now know these amazing people here that I had the chance to work with last week. And because of these people, we also know Alvin, who is a local man in Orange Walk who goes to the Orange Walk Bible Chapel Church. And Jim and Bob made a solid connection with him. And because of Alvin, we then found a man who had a bush hog. And not only did we find a bush hog, but Alvin is also by trade an electrician and a plumber. And so now, because of Alvin, Nathaniel knows somebody who can complete plumbing work and electrical work at his property when he has funds for it. So we learned a lot. Who are you? And I'm Carrie's husband, Daniel. So I was brought in to this by Carrie. So I feel very lucky to have been a part of this.
Well, good morning. I'm Beth Minyar, and I and two of my children, Sarah and Abigail, were down in Belize. And I'm going to share about our home visits. We went with Nathaniel to visit some of the families that attend the Death Church. And so I asked my girls, they're not here this morning, I said, what is something you remember? What was a highlight? And Abigail chirped up right away that she had a lot of fun watching Carrie and Glenda translate. I think, she's used to sign and other languages, but I think it was the first time where she got to be translated, and I think she was just sort of enraptured with that whole thing. But I felt really blessed to be able to actually be in their homes. I do a lot of work cross-culturally in my job here at the U.S., and we deal with a lot of power differences and struggles when you have immigrant families or newcomer families and teachers and all that kind of thing. And one of the things that we've learned over the years that really diminishes those power differences is to visit homes, to actually be in the homes. It kind of flips it on its head. And so, a lot of short-term teams don't ever get the privilege of actually being in a local person's home. And there's, whether we as a team realize it or not, there's some pretty big power differences. We're the Americans coming in, we're the visitors. And so I really enjoyed being able to be in their homes, having them be able to host us. And that sort of more on an equal level of friendship, of just being able to talk and to share. At one point, we had a translation triangle going on. There was one lady who only spoke Spanish. Some of us only spoke English. And, of course, the couple of, I think there was one lady at that point that was deaf. And so there were some multiple translations going around and around so that everybody could understand. My girls also said they really like playing apples to apples. And if you know that game, after we would just sort of talk, get to know each other, we'd have a short devotional time, and then we played apples to apples. And Nathaniel has a version of apples to apples that only has pictures. So no matter what your communication ability or your language or whatever, you could join in, and everybody could play on sort of an equal basis. Abby thought this was great because she can't read that well, and she didn't have to read the card. She could just play with it and could play with everybody. I had asked the girls before, I think our first visit, was there anything they wanted to share in devotional time? I would help them, but did they have any ideas? And Abby really wanted to share the Bible verse that was her memory verse for that week at school, and that is, I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. And so the 2 times that we got to visit, she got to share her verse, and then I asked her a few questions as to who's the good shepherd. So that was fun for me. Just a thank you to everyone who prayed, who found out that about 2 hours into our flight down, Abby wakes up and she is burning hot. She had a fever of over 103. I thought, great, we're in the middle of a plane ride, and I brought plenty of medicine, but it was all packed because you can't bring that much liquid. And so thankfully Myrna had an adult, and Abby had the joy of trying to chew down an adult Tylenol. If you've ever tried it, it's horrible. But she ended up with strep throat, but she was a trooper through the whole thing. I was really proud of her. She still wanted to, get out there. It was like 95 degrees, and she wanted to sunbathe because she was cold. But other than that, we had a really good time, and felt really blessed to be able to meet the families and some of the Deaf Church members in their homes and be their guest.
Daniel, I think the last time you were here at church, you were up here on this platform getting married. Carrie and Daniel got married in this church on October 1st because of Hurricane Ian that came up the coast. We were able to have the reception at our farm, but the ceremony was here, and it was a blessed time. I'm going to talk about prayer walks in Orange Walk Town. If you have ever walked through the streets of Orange Walk Town in Belize with the stair Felpel, If you have never done that, you have missed out on an interesting journey. I had the privilege of exploring the town with her 3 times, and I highly recommend it. Orange Walk is the 4th largest town in the country of Belize. It has 13,500 residents, exactly the size of Ephrata. So that was the town we were in. We women on the team were given a safety guideline of walking in groups of at least 2 or 3, and that felt very restrictive to me since I love to explore the areas where I go to visit. I knew that the new river flowed through Orange Walk, but I did not see it until the end of the week. I was amazed to discover that the backyard of our hotel bordered the river, but because of vegetation, I did not realize it was there. But the prayer walks gave us an opportunity to see the town and pray for its people. In Belize, we were told to expect the unexpected, and I think you've already witnessed that here through these testimonies, and that really happened on our team's prayer walks through the town. And it was that one morning, which Deb described. One morning we heard music in the center of town and saw that the main streets were blocked off. And there was a colorful, very colorful parade forming. And we asked the lady in the taco stand, what was going on. And like Deb told us, it was the first day of preschool for the 4 and 5-year-olds. And they had floats and balloons, and they had these music systems on the back of their pickup trucks that played children's music. So there was lots of sound. The children themselves, as you saw on the pictures, wore bright T-shirts, or they wore costumes, themed costumes, and they walked through the streets with their parents. And we loved celebrating with them and praying for a successful school year. On Tuesday morning, 4 of us women were assigned to do the prayer walk with Esther. It was interesting to hear Esther to tell us about her town as she pointed out the places she used to work, shop, and visit as a teenager and a young adult. We took time to find the school she had attended. As we were standing across the street in front of the Catholic Church, a young couple approached us and asked us for money. Perhaps they thought we were the Catholic Sisters of Mercy and had just come from Mass, but that wasn't the case. Esther took charge. She told the couple that she would buy them food, but we had to walk with them for quite a ways because there was no street taco stand in the area. A man on the street recognized Esther, and this happened all the time. All the people in Orange Walk knew her or her parents or her siblings. He recognized her, and he told us to be careful with that couple. Finally, Esther told us 4 women to stay on a street corner, and she would continue hunting for food with the couple. Well, we did as we were told, and we tried to keep Esther within sight, but she disappeared. That is when we formed a circle on the street and prayed earnestly for Esther's safety and protection. When Esther returned with a huge grin, we realized we should have been praying for the couple's protection instead. Yeah. But yeah, she had firmly counseled them to get their lives together and get jobs instead of begging on the street. And as soon as they had their tacos, they headed in the opposite direction from Esther, and we did not need to pray or fear that they were following us. And yeah, all our prayers were answered. Esther was safe, and the couple had been fed food and had been fed godly advice.
Great. Oh, we got one more person, right? Sorry, I skipped you. I thought we were done, but no, I forgot. There you go.
Want to?
No, please.
I won't be long, I promise. I don't have words to express my gratitude to God. Is that better? Yes, it is better. I don't have words to express my gratitude to God. It has been a dream of mine to take a group from Stumptown to Belize for a very long time. I thought I was going to be the one planning this, but God had other plans. I could not have planned this any better than what it worked out. As you have heard, I had the best group along. We worked very well together. We got a lot done. And where's our verse that we had along, which I had here, I know I can't find it. It's God plans way ahead of what we know. God can do immensely more than we could even dream of. And that was what I experienced, we all experienced, and I cannot give God enough glory, thank him enough for everyone who went along, everyone who supported us financially so we could do this, everyone who prayed for us, and my church. It is my church. It still is my church. Thanks you very much for everything we could get done. And hopefully we can do this again.
Good. That's a wrap. So thank you guys.